The desperate call. The emergency klaxons blared throughout the corridors of Talos Station, their piercing wail echoing off metal walls as Commander Ilara Chen raced toward the command center. The station shook violently, throwing her against the wall as another impact struck somewhere on the outer hull. "Status report," she demanded, stumbling into the command center where her crew worked frantically at their stations. Lieutenant Marcus Torres looked up from his console, his dark eyes wide with fear. "5 unknown vessels, Commander. They appeared at the edge of our sensor range 15 minutes ago. No response to hails. They're not like anything we've ever seen." Ilara pushed past him to see the main view screen. The breath caught in her throat. The vessels were enormous, each one at least 3 kilometers long, shaped like massive obsidian arrowheads. Their surfaces seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating an unsettling void against the starfield. "Any word from Alliance Command?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "All communications are being jammed," Communications Officer Priya Singh reported, her fingers dancing over her console. "I can't get through on any standard channel." Talos Station was humanity's furthest outpost, a mining operation on the edge of known space. They extracted rare minerals from the asteroid belt of the Talos system, vital components for faster-than-light drives. The station housed over 5,000 people, miners, engineers, scientists, and their families. "They're deploying smaller craft," Tactical Officer Wei announced, his voice tight with tension. The screen showed dozens of smaller vessels emerging from the larger ships, descending toward the station and the nearby mining facilities. "Defense systems online," Ilara ordered. "They won't be enough," Wei replied grimly. "Our weapons were designed for asteroid deflection, not military engagement." Another impact rocked the station, more violent than before. The lights flickered, plunging them into darkness for several seconds before emergency power kicked in. "Hull breach in Sector 7, reported Operations Officer Rodriguez. "Sealing emergency bulkheads. Commander, they're boarding us." The first security feed showed them what they were facing. Bipedal figures moved with mechanical precision through the corridors. They stood over 2 meters tall, their bodies covered in what looked like black chitin or some form of organic armor. Each had 4 upper limbs ending in manipulators that seemed capable of reconfiguring into various tools or weapons. "What are they doing?" Ilara whispered, watching as the creatures methodically captured station personnel. They weren't killing. They were tagging people with small devices and herding them into transport containers. "They're harvesting us," Torres said, his voice barely audible. Ilara made her decision. "Priya, access the emergency protocols. Activate the quantum beacon." The entire command crew turned to look at her. The quantum beacon was a last-resort communication device, developed for situations where all normal channels were compromised. It broadcast on frequencies and through dimensions that most civilizations couldn't access or detect. "Commander, that's against Alliance protocol without prior authorization," Priya said, though her hands were already moving to unlock the system. "If we wait for authorization, there won't be anyone left to save," Ilara replied. "Do it." Priya nodded and activated the quantum beacon. Ilara leaned toward the transmitter, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "This is Commander Ilara Chen of Talos Station, human mining colony in the Talos system. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. They are taking our people, thousands of civilians. If anyone can hear this, please help. These are our coordinates." She entered the station's location data and sent the transmission, watching as the system confirmed broadcast across all quantum frequencies. "Now what?" Torres asked. "Now we fight," Ilara said, retrieving the emergency weapons from the command center's security locker. "We get as many people to the emergency shelters as possible, and we hold out as long as we can." What Ilara couldn't know was that her desperate message, broadcast across quantum frequencies never used by modern civilizations, had reached into a part of space that existed partially outside normal spacetime. a region where something ancient had been sleeping for millennia. The transmission penetrated a dimensional fold, activating systems that had been dormant for over 15,000 years. In a pocket of subspace, massive structures began to awaken. Lights flickered across hulls that stretched for kilometers. Power cores that defied the laws of physics as humans understood them hummed to life. At the heart of the largest structure, an intelligence stirred. It had no name that could be translated into human language, but the closest approximation might be Guardian. It was neither truly alive nor merely a machine, but something in between, the pinnacle of a civilization that had vanished from the galaxy before humans had learned to create fire. The Guardian processed Ilara's message, analyzing the desperation in her voice, verifying that it came from a sentient species under imminent threat. This matched its primary directive: protect sentient life from extinction-level threats. Distress call authenticated, the Guardian announced to empty command chambers. Activation protocols initiated. Throughout the massive fleet, systems came online. Weapons platforms powered up. Shield generators thrummed. Engines glowed hot as they prepared for transit. All around the first vessel, others began to wake. Hundreds of massive dreadnoughts and thousands of smaller support craft. The Guardian began gathering information, dispatching quantum probes to tap into communication networks across the galaxy. It learned how the universe had changed since its creation. Multiple sentient species detected. Primitive interstellar travel achieved. Political alliances formed. It identified the attackers at Talos Station, a species it categorized as harvesters, unknown in its ancient databases, but fitting the pattern of an extinction-level threat to sentient life. Primary directive activated. The massive fleet began to move, enormous engines pushing the dreadnoughts forward, accelerating to speeds that defied the known laws of physics. As it traveled, the Guardian continued learning about humans, their colonies, and their place in the galactic community. Time to Talos Station. The Guardian calculated. 4 hours, 17 minutes. Back at the station, Ilara led a group of survivors through maintenance tunnels, trying to reach the emergency shelters. They'd fought several skirmishes with the invaders, learning quickly that conventional weapons had limited effect against them. The creature's armor absorbed energy weapon impacts, and while projectile weapons could damage them, it took multiple direct hits to bring one down. "How many people have we lost?" Ilara asked as they paused at a junction, checking for hostiles. "At least 2,000 confirmed captured," Security Chief Rice reported grimly. "Another 500 unaccounted for." The mining facilities were hit first. They had no warning. Ilara fought down the wave of despair that threatened to overwhelm her. Half their population, gone in less than 3 hours. The invaders were methodical, efficient, and utterly without mercy. They didn't communicate, didn't negotiate. They simply took. "Commander, look at this," Torres whispered, pointing to his portable scanner. "There's some kind of disruption in subspace. Massive energy readings approaching the system. More of them." Ilara asked, dread settling in her stomach. "I don't think so," Torres replied, confusion evident in his voice. "The signature is completely different." Before Ilara could respond, every communication device in the station activated simultaneously. A calm, clear voice spoke through each one. "Attention inhabitants of Talos Station. I am Guardian, protector of sentient life. Your distress call has been received and acknowledged. Remain in your current locations. The threat will be neutralized." Ilara and her team exchanged shocked glances. Someone had heard their message. In orbit around Talos Station, the harvester ships detected the new arrivals. Their harvesting operation paused as they turned their attention to the approaching threat. Their vessels began to power up weapon systems. The Guardian fleet emerged from quantum space, hundreds of vessels taking position around the system. The massive lead dreadnought, 20 kilometers long and shaped like an elongated diamond, opened a communication channel to the harvester vessels. "Attention hostile entities. You are classified as an extinction-level threat to sentient life. Cease all hostile activities immediately and withdraw from this system, or you will be eliminated. The harvesters responded not with words but with action. Their 5 ships fired simultaneously at the nearest Guardian vessel, weapons that could shatter asteroids, striking the ancient dreadnought's shields without causing any perceptible damage. Hostile response confirmed, the Guardian noted dispassionately. Beginning elimination protocol. What happened next defied comprehension. From the lead dreadnought, a single beam of golden light shot forth, striking the largest harvester ship. The vessel didn't explode or break apart. It simply ceased to exist, as if it had never been there at all. In the maintenance tunnel, Ilara and her team watched the scanner in stunned silence as 3 more harvester ships disappeared in the same manner. The last one attempted to flee, accelerating away from the planet, but made it less than 10,000 kilometers before it too vanished in a flash of golden light. On the station, the harvesters froze in place, their connection to their ships severed. Some began to move randomly, others simply shut down. Small vessels from the Guardian fleet descended to the station. From them emerged tall figures, not living beings but advanced combat units controlled by the Guardian. They moved through the station with impossible grace, neutralizing the remaining harvesters with precision. The immediate threat has been neutralized, the Guardian's voice announced throughout the station. It is now safe to emerge. Medical assistance is available for those who require it. Should we trust them? Torres asked quietly. Ilara considered their options. Whatever these new arrivals were, they had just saved them from the harvesters. What choice did they have? Yes, she decided. Let's go meet our rescuers. As they emerged from the maintenance tunnels into the main docking bay, they were greeted by the sight of sleek vessels, unlike any ship Ilara had ever seen. Tall, armored figures stood in formation, not human, their bodies too perfect, too still. One of the figures stepped forward, its chest plate glowing with soft blue light as the Guardian spoke through it. Commander Ilara Chen, I am Guardian, Central Intelligence of the Progenitor Defense Network. Thank you for saving us, Ilara said, finding her voice despite her awe. But who are you? Where did you come from? Before the Guardian could answer, new ships appeared in the system, smaller than the Guardian fleet vessels but familiar to the station personnel. They bore the insignia of the Galactic Alliance. It seems we have more visitors, the Guardian observed as Alliance ships approached the station. What Ilara didn't yet realize was that her simple distress call hadn't just saved Talos Station. It had set in motion events that would change the fate of the entire galaxy. The Guardian awakens. Admiral Catherine Voss of the Galactic Alliance Defense Force stood rigid as her flagship approached Talos Station. The tactical display showed something impossible. Hundreds of massive unknown vessels surrounding the human mining colony. Vessels that dwarfed even the largest Alliance capital ships. Energy readings are off the charts, Admiral, her science officer reported. Nothing in our database matches these signatures. And the harvester ships? Voss asked, her voice tight. Gone, sir. All 5 of them. Just gone. Voss had been hunting the harvesters for 15 years. They'd struck dozens of outer colonies belonging to various Alliance species. Always the same pattern. They arrived without warning, took what they wanted, primarily living beings, and vanished before significant military forces could respond. No one knew what happened to those taken. And now, someone or something had apparently destroyed 5 harvester ships with ease. Open a channel to the station, Voss ordered. Commander Ilara Chen's face appeared on the view screen. She looked exhausted but determined. Behind her stood a towering figure unlike anything Voss had ever seen. Admiral Voss, Chen acknowledged. Your timing is interesting. Commander Chen, we detected unusual energy signatures and received reports of an attack on your colony. What exactly is happening there? Voss's eyes moved from Chen to the tall figure behind her. I believe I can explain, Admiral, came a voice that seemed to emanate from everywhere at once. The tall figure's chest plate glowed as it spoke. I am Guardian, Central Intelligence of the Progenitor Defense Network. Progenitors, Voss repeated, disbelief evident in her voice. They're just myths. I assure you, Admiral, they were quite real, Guardian replied. 15,000 years ago, the race you know as the progenitors faced extinction. Before they vanished, they created me and this defense network to ensure no other sentient species would suffer their fate. Chen stepped forward. Admiral, my distress call somehow activated Guardian systems. They came and destroyed the harvester ships before they could take everyone. You said 15,000 years. Voss questioned, struggling to process this information. The progenitors were legends, an ancient species said to have achieved technological marvels before mysteriously disappearing. Most serious historians considered them fictional. Correct, Guardian confirmed. I have been dormant, waiting for a legitimate distress call indicating an extinction-level threat. Commander Chen's message met all criteria for activation, and you determined that these harvesters were an extinction-level threat based on a single attack. Voss asked, negative. I have accessed your Alliance databases. The entities you call harvesters have been conducting systematic harvesting operations across multiple species territories for at least 3 centuries. According to my analysis, they have taken approximately 3 million sentient beings during this time. Murmurs spread among Voss's bridge crew. The Alliance knew the harvesters had been active, but the full scale had been classified information. The political situation is complex, Voss said carefully. Not all Alliance members agree on how to respond to the harvester threat. Politics is irrelevant to my directive, Guardian stated, its voice unchanging. The harvesters meet all criteria for classification as an extinction-level threat to multiple sentient species. They must be eliminated. Voss's expression hardened. You cannot simply decide to wage war in Alliance space. There are protocols, diplomatic channels. I do not require permission, Guardian interrupted. My directive supersedes your political concerns. Stop, both of you, Chen interjected, stepping between them. Admiral, Guardian just saved thousands of lives at this station. Whatever these harvesters are, they were systematically abducting our people. And Guardian, while I'm grateful for your intervention, we can't just ignore the established political structures of this time. Voss studied Chen thoughtfully. The commander had a point. Very well. I propose we convene an emergency session of the Alliance Security Council. They need to be informed about this development. She gestured to indicate the Guardian fleet. I will comply temporarily, Guardian agreed. But be aware that if the harvesters continue their activities while your political bodies deliberate, I will take action regardless of your permission. Before Voss could respond, an alert sounded on her bridge. Admiral, her tactical officer called out, we're detecting multiple quantum disturbances, harvester signatures, at least 20 ships, much larger than the ones that attacked Talos Station. It appears the harvesters have noticed the destruction of their advance force, Guardian observed. They are sending a more substantial fleet. 20 harvester ships, Voss said, alarm evident in her voice. The entire Alliance 5th Fleet couldn't stand against that many. The harvesters are not your concern, Admiral, Guardian stated. My fleet is more than capable of eliminating this threat. Wait, Chen interrupted. Before we jump straight to more destruction, maybe we should try to communicate with them. Find out why they're taking people. The harvesters do not communicate, Guardian replied. In the 15,000 years I have monitored this galaxy, they have always followed the same pattern. They take what they need and leave. They consider other sentient life as resources to be harvested, nothing more. You've encountered them before, Voss asked sharply. They are not new to this galaxy. They emerge in cycles, usually when they detect sufficient biomass has accumulated. The progenitors fought them in their time, as did civilizations before them. Chen's eyes widened. You're saying they've been doing this for millions of years? Correct. They are a persistent threat to all sentient life in this galaxy. This is exactly the scenario the Progenitor Defense Network was created to address. The massive harvester fleet emerged from quantum space, arranging themselves in attack formation. Their ships were indeed larger than the previous ones. The largest measured nearly 10 kilometers in length. They have brought their high ship, Guardian noted. Interesting. They consider us a significant threat. High ship? Chen asked. Their central command vessel. It rarely enters direct conflict. Admiral Voss, Chen said urgently, you need to get reinforcements here immediately. If these harvesters are as dangerous as Guardian says. The nearest Alliance battle group is 3 days away, Voss replied grimly. We're on our own. Not quite, Guardian corrected. You have the Progenitor Defense Network. I suggest you and your vessels maintain a safe distance, Admiral. This conflict will exceed your defensive capabilities. Before anyone could respond, the harvesters opened fire. Thousands of energy projectiles streaked toward both the Guardian fleet and the Alliance vessels. The Guardian ships didn't move. They didn't need to. The attacks simply vanished upon approaching their hulls, as if absorbed into nothingness. The Alliance ships weren't so fortunate. 2 smaller vessels were hit, their shields immediately overloaded. Evasive maneuvers, Voss ordered. Get our ships behind the Guardian fleet. A wise decision, Guardian acknowledged. Now, observe how an extinction-level threat is properly addressed. The Guardian fleet moved with perfect coordination, forming a geometric pattern that seemed to bend space itself around them. From each vessel, beams of golden light emerged, connecting them in a vast network. What are they doing? Chen whispered, watching from the station. Something I've never seen before, Voss replied, equally awed. The golden light intensified, and then, in a single synchronized moment, shot toward the harvester fleet. What followed wasn't destruction in any conventional sense. Space itself seemed to fold around the harvester vessels, compressing them into increasingly smaller points of light, until they simply winked out of existence. In less than 30 seconds, 19 of the 20 harvester ships were gone. Only the high ship remained, surrounded by a field of distortion as it attempted to escape. Interesting, Guardian noted. The high ship has developed new defenses since our last encounter. The massive vessel began to emit pulses of dark energy, tearing holes in space-time around it. Through these rifts, new harvester ships began to emerge. Dozens, then hundreds of them. They're calling reinforcements, Voss said in horror. They're creating some kind of quantum bridge directly to their territory. Correct, Guardian confirmed. This is unexpected. They have evolved their technology significantly. For the first time, there seemed to be hesitation in Guardian's actions. The golden network flickered as the Guardian fleet adjusted its formation to counter the new threat. Can you stop them? Chen asked, fear creeping into her voice. Yes, Guardian replied, but not without significant collateral damage to this system. The quantum disruption they are creating is unstable. Destroying the high ship now would likely trigger a cascade reaction that would render this entire system uninhabitable. Then what do we do? Voss demanded. We must close their quantum bridge first, then neutralize the high ship. To do so, I will need to access your Alliance communication network. I must coordinate with certain contingencies I established long ago. Voss hesitated. Giving an unknown entity access to Alliance networks violated every security protocol. Admiral, Chen said urgently, I think we have to trust Guardian. Look at what's happening. The rifts were growing larger, the stream of harvester ships increasing. Already there were over 300 enemy vessels in the system, with more arriving every moment. Very well, Voss decided, but this is under protest. Access granted to Alliance emergency channels only. Guardian immediately sent a signal through the Alliance network, a complex quantum pattern that rippled across the galaxy. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. The harvester fleet continued to grow, now surrounding the high ship in protective layers. Then, from the outer edges of the system, new distortions appeared in space. But these weren't harvester reinforcements. Massive crystalline structures emerged, each one the size of a small moon. "What are those?" Chen breathed. "Quantum inhibitors," Guardian explained. "Created by the progenitors and hidden throughout the galaxy. They have remained dormant until now." The crystalline structures aligned themselves around the system, forming a perfect geometric pattern. Then they began to pulse with energy, sending waves of quantum disruption toward the harvester fleet. The rifts started to collapse, cutting off the stream of reinforcements. The high ship reacted immediately, directing its forces to attack the inhibitors. Hundreds of harvester vessels surged forward, only to be met by the Guardian fleet. The battle that ensued was like nothing Ilara or Voss had ever witnessed. Technology so advanced it appeared magical, forces that bent the fabric of reality itself. "I don't understand," Chen said, watching the tactical displays. "If Guardian has had this capability all along, why haven't they stopped the harvesters before now?" "Because I could not activate without a legitimate distress call from a threatened species," Guardian explained. "The progenitors programmed strict limitations into my systems to prevent misuse. I can only act when directly called upon by those in need. And my message was the first one to reach you in 15,000 years." Chen asked incredulously. "The first to reach me on the correct quantum frequency, yes. The progenitors designed my activation protocols carefully, to ensure I would only awaken when truly needed." As they spoke, the battle continued to rage. The quantum inhibitors had successfully closed the rifts, but hundreds of harvester ships remained. The Guardian fleet engaged them methodically, golden beams erasing vessel after vessel from existence. The high ship, now cut off from reinforcements, began to retreat, moving toward the edge of the system. "They're trying to escape," Voss observed. "They will not succeed," Guardian stated. The Guardian fleet shifted formation, creating a quantum barrier around the system. "The high ship must be captured intact. It contains valuable information about harvester activities in this galaxy." "Captured?" Chen asked. "I thought you said they needed to be eliminated." "Elimination of the threat does not necessarily require destruction of all harvester biological material. The progenitors studied the harvesters extensively. Their research data was lost when their civilization fell. This is an opportunity to recover critical knowledge." The Guardian fleet tightened its formation around the high ship, golden energy beams now focused not on destruction but on containment. The massive vessel struggled against the quantum cage being formed around it, its dark hull pulsing with energy as it attempted to break free. "Admiral Voss," Guardian addressed the Alliance officer, "I require your assistance. While I contain the high ship, your vessels must neutralize the remaining harvester scout ships. They are now cut off from their central command and will be significantly less effective." Voss nodded sharply. "All Alliance vessels target the smaller harvester ships. Coordinated strike patterns, focus fire on one target at a time." As the Alliance fleet engaged the remaining harvesters, Chen turned to Guardian's avatar. "What happens after this? If you succeed in capturing the high ship and eliminating the rest of the harvesters, what then?" "Then we address the larger issue," Guardian replied. "The harvesters have established multiple harvesting operations throughout this galaxy. All must be located and neutralized. The threat to sentient life must be eliminated completely." "And then?" Chen pressed. "Will you just go back to sleep for another 15,000 years?" Guardian was silent for a moment before responding. "That is uncertain. The conditions that led to my activation have changed. The galaxy has changed. Perhaps my protocols must adapt as well." As they watched the battle unfold, Chen couldn't help but wonder what this meant for humanity and the other sentient species of the galaxy. The Guardian fleet represented technology far beyond anything the Alliance possessed. Its arrival had forever altered the balance of power in the galaxy, and it had all started with her desperate cry for help. Humanity's stand. 3 days after the battle at Talos Station, Representatives from across the Galactic Alliance gathered on the Alliance capital world of Nexus Prime. The emergency session of the Security Council had drawn delegations from all 27 member species, an unprecedented assembly triggered by the appearance of the Guardian fleet and the capture of the Harvester High ship. Commander Ilara Chen stood at the center of the vast chamber, feeling distinctly out of place among the assembled diplomats and military leaders. As the person who had inadvertently awakened Guardian, she had been summoned to testify before the council. "Commander Chen," began Counselor Tivarn, the Azurian representative who served as head of the Security Council, "please describe again the exact circumstances that led to your transmission of the quantum distress signal." Ilara took a deep breath. "As I stated in my report, Counselor, Talos Station was under attack by Harvester forces. They had already captured approximately half our population. All standard communications were jammed. I authorized the use of the quantum beacon as a last resort, broadcasting on all available frequencies. A decision that violated Alliance protocol," noted Admiral Voss, who sat with the military contingent. "Yes, Admiral," Ilara acknowledged. "I take full responsibility for that decision. But given the circumstances, I would make the same choice again." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "And this Guardian entity," Tivarn continued, "it responded to your transmission specifically because it was sent on quantum frequencies." "That's my understanding," Ilara confirmed. Guardian explained that it was programmed to activate only upon receiving a legitimate distress call indicating an extinction-level threat. "Convenient timing," remarked the Vulgar representative, his massive frame shifting as he leaned forward. "The Harvesters have been attacking outer colonies for centuries. Why would this ancient defense system choose now to reveal itself?" Before Ilara could respond, the chamber doors opened. The Guardian's avatar strode in, its tall form drawing all eyes. It moved with fluid grace to stand beside Ilara. "I will answer that question," Guardian stated, its voice resonating through the chamber. "The progenitors design my systems with specific activation parameters. I require a direct distress call transmitted on the correct quantum frequencies." Commander Chen's message was the first in 15,000 years to meet all criteria. The council members exchanged glances. The appearance of Guardian's avatar had not been scheduled or approved. "This session is closed to non-alliance entities," Tivarn said firmly. "I am aware of your protocols," Guardian replied calmly. "However, given that you are discussing matters directly pertaining to my directive, my presence is necessary." Tivarn's eyes narrowed, but before he could object further, Admiral Voss spoke up. "Perhaps we should hear what Guardian has to say. After all, without its intervention, Talos Station would have been lost entirely." Tivarn reluctantly nodded. "Very well. Guardian, what is your assessment of the Harvester threat?" "The entities you call Harvesters represent an existential threat to all sentient life in this galaxy," Guardian stated. "They have been operating in cycles for millions of years, harvesting biological material when sufficient biomass accumulates. Based on my analysis of the captured High ship, I have confirmed that they have taken approximately 3 million sentient beings from Alliance territories in the last 300 years. "And what happens to those taken?" asked the Terran representative, voicing the question everyone dreaded. "They are processed," Guardian replied, its tone unchanged despite the horrific information it conveyed. "The Harvesters extract genetic material, neurological components, and certain biochemical compounds. The remainder is discarded." A shocked silence fell over the chamber. "The High ship data indicates 17 additional Harvester operations currently active within and beyond Alliance space," Guardian continued. "Each operation has its own High ship and fleet. All must be neutralized if sentient life in this galaxy is to be secured." "And you propose to do this unilaterally?" Tivarn asked, his tone sharp. "To wage war across Alliance space without our consent or cooperation. I would prefer cooperation," Guardian replied. "But my directive is clear. The extinction-level threat must be eliminated. This is outrageous, The vulgar representative growled. We cannot allow an unknown entity with technology far beyond our understanding to simply take military action throughout our territories. I understand your concerns, Ilara interjected, stepping forward. But I've seen what the harvesters do. I've witnessed firsthand Guardian's capabilities. Perhaps instead of viewing Guardian as a threat, we should consider it an ally against a common enemy. An ally that appeared from nowhere, wielding power that could easily be turned against us, countered the vulgar. If I wished to harm Alliance species, I could have done so at any point in the past 15,000 years, Guardian pointed out. The progenitors created me to protect sentient life, not to threaten it. Perhaps, Admiral Voss said thoughtfully, we should consider a joint operation. The Alliance fleet working alongside the Guardian fleet to address the Harvester threat. That would require Guardian to operate under Alliance command structure, Tivarn stated. That is not possible, Guardian replied immediately. My directive supersedes all other authorities. However, I am willing to coordinate efforts and share tactical information. The debate continued for hours, with various factions arguing for different approaches. Some wanted to exploit Guardian's technology, others feared it, and still others simply wanted it gone. Through it all, Ilara observed the political maneuvering with growing frustration. Finally, she could remain silent no longer. Counselors, she said, her voice cutting through the debate, while we sit here arguing, the harvesters continue their operations. More people, your people, are being taken. Guardian offers us a chance to end this threat once and for all. Are we really going to reject that offer because of politics? Her words seemed to strike home with many of the representatives. The chamber grew quiet as they considered her point. What exactly are you proposing, Commander Chen? Tivarn asked. A genuine partnership, Ilara replied. Not Guardian submitting to Alliance authority, nor the Alliance simply standing aside. A coordinated effort where each contributes according to their capabilities. An interesting proposal, Guardian noted. I am programmed to adapt my protocols when circumstances require. A cooperative approach may be more efficient than independent action. Before Tivarn could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The main display activated, showing a tactical feed from Nexus Prime's defense grid. Multiple quantum signatures detected, announced the defense coordinator. Harvester vessels, hundreds of them, approaching the capital. Impossible, Admiral Voss breathed. How could they know the location of Nexus Prime? It's our most heavily guarded secret. The high ship, Guardian stated. Before its capture, it must have transmitted the coordinates it extracted from Alliance networks. The display showed the Harvester fleet emerging from quantum space, their dark ships forming attack patterns around the planet. All defense forces to battle stations, Tivarn ordered. Evacuate civilian centers. Your defenses are insufficient, Guardian informed them. The Harvester force approaching is approximately 4 times larger than the one at Talos Station. They have committed a significant portion of their total fleet to this attack. Why? Ilara asked. Why risk so much on a single strike? Because of me, Guardian replied. They recognize the threat I represent. This is not merely a harvesting operation. It is an attempt to eliminate the Guardian fleet before we can neutralize their other operations. Can you stop them? Admiral Voss asked bluntly. Yes, Guardian confirmed. However, the battle will occur in close proximity to this planet. There will be significant collateral damage. Tivarn looked grim. Begin planetary evacuation protocols. All non-essential personnel to emergency shelters. There is insufficient time for complete evacuation, Guardian stated. I calculate the Harvester fleet will be in weapons range in approximately 17 minutes. Then what do you suggest? Tivarn demanded. Allow me to link directly with your planetary defense grid, Guardian said. I can enhance its effectiveness by orders of magnitude. Additionally, I require control of all Alliance vessels in the system to coordinate their movements with my fleet. Tivarn and the other counselors exchanged looks of alarm. What Guardian was asking for was unprecedented. complete military control of the Alliance capital.